Well, we're happy now to be joined by Peter MacKay, co-founder of the Modern Conservative Party, former MP, cabinet minister, leadership hopeful. What, all around bon vivant? Do you want to add that one too? Okay. Nice to have you here.
Hey,
Thanks. You for joining us.
Nice to be with you again.
So listen, a lot to talk about here, and I do want to begin with what we just heard from Pierre Poilievre, because really, in some ways, a repetition of the message, the winning message, arguably, with the poll numbers where they are, about cutting the carbon tax, making things more affordable for Canadians, jobs, investments, housing. And in a 70-minute format, what did you make of that speech? Is this the winning formula for the Conservatives to get back into government?
Well, in short, yes. It's substantive. It's talking to Canadians about their daily lives, their struggles, their dreams, their hopes, and, talking about it in a way that resonates. And he's framed it as common sense, and it is. People have often accused politicians of not being relatable. That was relatable. People could see and hear themselves in his words and his description of what's going on in the country right now. And so I think he has a long way to go, of course, before we know when the next election will be. And you never want to peak too early in anything. But I think he has laid out a very appealing platform. It's not a platform, but what he has said he is going to do for Canadians is getting a lot of traction.
Mm-hmm. Well, you talk about peaking too soon, and I'm thinking about your own speech earlier today that you delivered in this room, because you talked about, despite the enthusiasm that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seemed to me that you were talking about, despite the enthusiasm that members are feeling right now, driven by the polling numbers, that there's still challenges to be met. What do you see as the challenges still ahead for this party, despite the fact that they're enjoying such a big lead in the polls right now?
Well, the challenge is beyond not peaking or not getting thrown off track, because that is always a possibility as well. I mean, catastrophic things happen, pandemics happen. We've seen an unprecedented period of natural disasters and unnatural disasters. And so those things can create opportunity, but they can also create pitfalls. And so Pierre, in my estimation, is a very disciplined speaker, a very focused politician, and so he's not as apt to get blown off course, if I can put it that way. But he is going to have to keep up a certain tempo, be consistent, and the party apparatus has to be with them and has to continue to build on the ground. We've got to get candidates in place. The policy session, which sort of happens behind the scenes, is also very important. It has always been an important part of the Conservative Party because it's consultative and it's inclusive and it allows people to have their say and to have access to the leader. He's going to be out there for hours, meeting, talking to people, looking them in the eye, listening to them. That's retail politics, and it's hard to keep that pace up.
Okay, so that goes to what he needs to do, what the party executive has to do, but what about the party itself? How difficult will it be to keep the party united? Because right now you come into this room, they're applauding loudly for the key message and the key ideas that he's trying to sell Canadians on. But there's still at least perhaps 2 years before the next vote, if the supply and confidence agreement between the Liberals and the NDP hold up. So how difficult will it be to keep this party united between now and the next vote?
I think it's looking pretty good in terms of the unity of the party right now, and winning will do that. During the years of the Harper government, being in power, there's a discipline that comes with that. There's a focus, of course, that comes with that, and it's not to be taken lightly. Being in opposition, it is more challenging to some level. You don't have the same rewards or the ability in some cases to enforce discipline. But, Pierre, I need to point out, has spent more time in the House of Commons than Justin Trudeau. He's a very seasoned guy. He has been in government before, so he brings that experience to his leadership. And he's working very hard. I saw him at least 3 times in Atlantic Canada over the course of the summer. And he had, for the size of the communities he was in, he had enormous crowds, as we've seen here, and responsive ones, as you point out, where people are picking up his messages, they're repeating back to him the chant to bring it home. So there's a feeling, it's hard to perhaps perceive for some, but politically there is a growing tide of support for Pierre and his message, and therefore the party.
Okay, now in 2015, 2019, 2021, the Liberals effectively used social conservatives as a wedge issue to scare Canadians who might have been thinking of voting Conservative away from making that choice. Do you see social conservative values being used once again as a wedge issue? Is the party still vulnerable to that?
Well, you said it. It's a scare tactic. It's not real. I mean, let's go back to basic principles. When I was last in government 8 years ago, and from 2006 to 2015, were social conservative issues a concern? Did Stephen Harper try to reopen these divisive debates or take away rights, most importantly? No, he didn't. And Pierre is no different. So will that wedge issue emerge? Some will try to make it an issue, but I think
because there have been policies that have been suggested in this convention that do worry some when it comes to access for certain trans people, when it comes to diversity training, those have already been raised. Does that make the party vulnerable still to that type of criticism?
I don't think so, because practically, having a discussion and being open to at least having a debate is a long cry from trying to entrench rights or remove rights. And so I think there needs to be a much more practical, rational, thoughtful discussion when it comes to the actual threat. Because I for one, don't believe that threat exists. I don't think that's going to make its way ever into a place where we're going to be moving backwards. That's certainly not the party I believe in, and it's certainly not something I would ever support.
Okay. Well, to that, you clearly stated in your speech that Pierre Poilievre will be the next prime minister, but you teased people as to whether or not you would actually run and join the Pierre Poilievre team. Is that going to happen?
Look, I was in politics for a good part of my working life. I'm back in Nova Scotia. I'm lucky, and I won the lottery when I met my wife. I've got 3 little kids. I'm in a good place. Do I care about my country? Yes, deeply, passionately, like a lot of people in this room. So, short answer, I'm not ruling anything out, but I am not pining to get back into politics. I support Pierre, I support our party, I'll support a local candidate, but I am not intending to run in this election. But I'm not closing any doors to ever returning to politics. Why would I?
Okay. But a strong maybe then, is what I'm hearing from you.
Well, you can interpret it how you like, but I'm delighted to see the enthusiasm. I'm particularly glad to see that these discussions are happening in a public way. That's what democracy is about. That's the essence of change.
Okay, Peter MacKay, always appreciate the time. Thank you for this.
Thank you.